So planning. What is planning? How do I plan? Who should be planning? And why should I plan? Those are the questions I'm going to be answering in today's video. If you look up the dictionary definition of a plan, you might see things like it's a detailed design, or it's an intention to do something, or it's a proposal of how we're going to achieve something. And that's all very true. It's all very important parts of planning. For me, the most important part of planning is that it's making a commitment to do something. They say when you actually write something down and you make a plan, you are so much more likely to actually go on and achieve it. And that's crazy, don't you think? That just by writing something down, you're more likely to do it. But there's a very logical reason why that is the case. If you write something down, it's not just floating about in your head. It's there on paper and it's not going away until you've done it. You've also made a commitment. You've got some accountability there when you've written down and started planning. But anyway, I'll start with who should be planning. So for me, everyone should be planning, but there's two types of people that really would benefit from it a lot. Type 1 person is the person that doesn't really know where their day goes. They don't feel like they do a lot or accomplish a lot, but the day just sort of dwindles away. Start planning, you'll find you have so much more time because you're more aware of your time. Anyway, type 2 person is the person who is so busy that they don't have time to plan. They've got stuff coming in and out of their brain all the time and they just don't know where they're coming left or right, but stuff's going on. Start planning. When you start planning, you'll have much more order in your life and you'll still get more done because you know what you're doing and you won't spend all that time stressing out about what you've got to do. Okay, so the why of planning. Why should I be planning? For that, I've come up with the 3 C's of planning. C number 1, clarity. When you create a plan, you can see how you're going to do something so much easier. I use a simple example. Say I want to build a table. If I said to you, go build a table, you might be like, I don't know. But if you break that down, you'll see it's so much easier. Okay, let's start out. We want to build a table. I need to design the table, then I need to assemble the table. Great, simpler, but still quite big. So design the table. How am I going to do that? Well, I might start out by looking through Instagram or Pinterest for inspiration, making a few notes about what it is I like, a sort of specification, as it were, for my table design. When I've got that, I might put together a preliminary design and then review that design. I might iterate back and forth between these a few times. And I've come up with a table design. So I've got my table design, I can create a bill of materials, and there we go, I'm ready to sort of move toward the assembling step. Get those materials, put them together. Again, put them together, you can break that down into assemble the leg, then assemble the top bit with the brackets, and then put the legs onto the top bits. Anyway, when you've broken it down into all those steps, it becomes so much more clear in your head how you're actually going to achieve it, and you can track your progress much easier of how you're moving through the overall process. Now, the second reason why clarity is so important is more to do with the limits of humans. We have a short-term memory and we can only remember about 7 things at any one time. Now, if you create a plan and you write something down, you're effectively extending that. So 1, you don't forget that thing that you really needed to do, and 2, you actually relieve quite a lot of stress in that process. I don't know if you've ever had the experience when you've been like, oh my God, I cannot forget this. Like, whatever happens, I can't forget it. And sometimes you still forget it. It will be disastrous. If you've just written it down, you're more likely to do it and it's there in front of you. You can see it. There's no excuse not to do it. You also free up space in your mind to think about other things, and you might find yourself being more creative as a result. Second C, commitment. As I said before, when you write something down, you're so much more likely to do it. And that's because you're creating some accountability for yourself. When something's written down on paper and you can see it, you're not going to forget about it because you're reminded of it constantly as long as you keep looking at your plan. And that's great because you've written it down because you clearly want to do it in the first place, and now you're more likely to do it. it's also fixed there. It's not going away until you cross it off. Or you make the conscious decision not to do something, and that's fine as well. The final C is conversion, and for me, it's probably the most important one of the 3 C's. It allows you to track and follow your progress over a long time. Now, when I say planning, it can be something really small or it can be something really big, but there's almost always a sequence of steps involved in any one thing. Sometimes as well, you'll get things wrong, you'll fail, and that's absolutely fine, but if you fail in a normal situation and you haven't planned, you can feel pretty depressed, pretty sad that you've not done it, and you might be confused as well, you don't really know why it's gone wrong. If you've made a plan over the time, you can look back and you can say, well, actually, I didn't get it right because I didn't do this, or I didn't hit this part of the plan, or maybe I just didn't break the steps down enough. And you can start to have that conversation with yourself about why something didn't go right, and you can make sure you don't make the same mistake twice, which is really important. Another boost with conversion is the fact that when you do something, you can cross it off, you can tick it, you can highlight it, whatever works for you. And that has again been shown to release endorphins in the brain and make you feel so much better. It's pretty crazy actually, but even things that we know we're going to do every day, say I know I'm going to get up by 8 a.m. and, I don't know, have my breakfast. Say I write that down, cross it off the list. My brain will release endorphins just because I've achieved that, even though it's just a random step in my daily routine that I know I'm going to do anyway. Crazy, but cool. Okay, so hopefully the 3 C's have convinced you that you should be planning, and now you want to start, but how do you plan? Well, planning, like many things, is a skill. It's going to take time. You're not just going to wake up one morning and be a master planner. I recommend starting small. Make some to-do lists. Say the steps that you're going to do in your day. I'm going to go for a run in the morning. I'm going to do some meal preparation. I'm going to do this post on Facebook or LinkedIn, or something that you want to do, or something that you've got to do for work. Maybe you've got to do some shopping. Maybe you want to make a shopping list. Literally anything small to get started, just to get yourself in the motion of making a plan, see how it feels to write stuff down, and then cross it off afterwards. Now, to-do lists are fantastic because they're free and they're very little effort, but they do have some limitations in that they're only really good for things on the same timescale, or that happen chronologically. What I mean by this is, say you're going to go to the gym and you've got a routine to do that you're going to work through, great. You work through the routine, you cross it all off, that to-do list is then done. Or, say everything is going to happen in the same day, you cross it all off, doesn't matter the order, but you cross it off, to-do list is done. The issue arises when you've got things across multiple timescales and you end up with just that one thing that's going to take a month left on the list, and you've got another one over here and here and here and here and here, loads of to-do lists, and that becomes a pain. So at that point I'd recommend switching over to something like this, just getting yourself a single plain page planner, and you can make your own to-do lists at different scales. So for the things that are going to take a bit longer, got an example. Here's a plan I made for my content. What this is just things that I've got to remember to do over a longer period of time. I can just go through, crossing off when I've done each thing. Some are photos of 3D prints that I need to produce, some things are posts of things on LinkedIn or Facebook, etc. that I need to do. By having it here, I can cross it off whenever I do it, and also when you get that state where you're like, oh, I don't really know what to do, I've got something that I can look at quickly, oh yeah, I've got to do that, get it done. Don't have to sit around feeling bored, thinking, oh, I don't know what to do. When really there's so many things that I need to do anyway, so there's no point wasting time feeling bored. The downside to a plain page planner is obviously you have to have a little bit more effort. You have to go out and buy this thing and, you know, think about how you're actually going to write down what you want to separate and put together. You can still use to-do lists by any means for single things, day-to-day things, and I still do that because it's great. Say that I've got a couple of things on my mind when I'm going to bed, write them down. I can then sleep easy knowing that I'm not going to forget what it is that I need to do. When you've had a go at that, maybe, you might think, actually, I want something even more involved. And I've recently done the same and purchased a passion planner. Not the cheapest, but I really like it. It's Sunday start, so what that means is the first day on the page is Sunday, and it allows me to, on that day, reflect about how the last week went and set out what I need to do for the week ahead. And this is really quite helpful. It's also got different sections that allow me to write good things that happened or little thoughts that I've had that week, and then I can see it all in a chronological order, compare how my performance this week was against the previous week, or just see how I'm getting on towards a longer planned goal. And I'll chuck the link for one of those in the description as well. Maybe you can have a look. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video and you now feel like you know why you should plan, you want to plan, and you know how to do it. If you have any questions, just put them below. But I really do encourage you to start planning, because it really does make a massive amount of difference to your life. And yeah, start now, get a to-do list out and write down a couple of goals that you want to do over the next day or so. Cross them off, see how it feels, and let me know. Cheers.